What is a dirty business tactic that you know and everyone should be aware of it? The You Want a TV $5,000 base boat scams at car dealerships. Generally, you get a flyer in the mail that says scratch off X to see if you won. You always win the biggest prize, but when you read the fine print, you actually only win the right to spin some wheel or put your name in a box for a drawing. The employees' friends and family always actually get the boat TV cash. Your win is just a tactic to get you into the dealership. A fun thing to do is waste the manager's time. Go to the dealership, prize flyer in hand. Find a nice car. One with all of the options. Ask for every dealer ad on the offer and tell them you don't want to waste time negotiating. You have cash. Talk to the manager and keep going back to him/her. Insist on a test drive with the manager. Convince them you want to buy the car and get to the paperwork phase. Then, just before you sign, inform them that they haven't sold you a car. They've sold you on the idea of buying a car. Get the manager's card and tell them you'll be dropping their card in a hat with other dealership managers' cards. A card will be selected at random and that dealership manager will be notified by mail in 4 to 6 weeks. Let them know that the actual car you buy may not be the one used in your promotion. Thank you, kind stranger. I had an aunt who would fall for this kind of thing all the time. Scratch cut in the newspaper that says top prize a cruise, super small print. Prizes also include £10 off £3,000 holiday voucher, a key ring, etc, etc. Just call this number to find out. Small print. Calls charged at £1.50 per minute. Calls may last up to 30 minutes. She could not be talked out of it, so I got her to save them for me to call when I visited, and I'd just take the phone in the other room, wait a bit, then tell her she'd only won the voucher so there was no point in claiming it. Somehow, I don't think I cheated auntie out of any fabulous holidays. You and I have very different definitions of what a fun thing to do entails. Absolutely. Why not just discard the offer and go about enjoying your time off doing whatever hobbies you like? People lie about salary, starting pay, raises, etc. all the time. Learn to play hardball. For a multi-million-dollar company, another $10 $20k is nothing. My office had a lockdown on raises over 3%, and going into an annual review I learned that my boss had lied and underpaid me for the starting position. He claimed they had a $60k budget for the position and couldn't exceed it. I found out the last person in the job got paid $75k. So I got an offer from a competitor for over double my current pay, knew they couldn't afford to lose me with the amount of work coming in, and slid my offer letter over to my boss during the review. They matched the offer, gave me a $10,000 bonus up front, and even cut me into a percentage of a business line. The meeting was awkward as hell, and it was difficult to do, but it's business. For a company it might be nothing, but the department still has to keep it within the budget that they've been allocated by said multi-million-dollar company. This is true, but in my field we always work substantial wiggle room into every budget. I generally have $300 minus $400k a year in ambiguous line items that I can allocate to anything I want, including employee salary. Care to allocate them to me? I'll send you a lovely handwritten thank you note in return, with your choice of Batman or Wonder Woman stamp. It's about perspective. 10-20k really is nothing compared to the total cost of employing someone. I'm not just talking about salary. In Australia their superannuation, retirement fund, workers' compensation insurance, sick leave and annual leave that are paid on top of salary. Then there are HR and office costs associated with hiring someone. Superannuation would also need to consider ongoing training and professional development, office space, stationery, computers, office furniture, staff amenities, etc. Compared to the total cost of employment, 10k really isn't much. However, to the employee 10k can be quite life-changing. Thus in wage negotiations the employee actually has the advantage. HR's job is to hide this fact. Don't let them play hardball and find out the most they can actually offer you. Jacking Google business pages. Basically, if a Google business listing isn't claimed and controlled by a competing company can weasel their way in and direct people to their business by, say, changing the phone number. There was an article recently about how drug counselors in the Philadelphia area had it happen to them. Their listing phone number was changed to an 800 number, which directed callers to an inpatient rehab facility in Florida. It was discovered when one of these counselors started noticing his patients suddenly not showing up. He called one of them and found out he was at this facility in Florida. Okay, gonna try to keep this brief. I actually wondered about this. When me and my boyfriend were living in Richmond, Virginia, he kinda got an itch for heroin. After trying about everything, it got to the point where I'd come home at the end of work and wonder what he pawned to get drug money next. After I told him that I'd be here for him, but he had to get help. If he didn't, it's me or the drug. He admitted he needed help, so I sat down with him and started calling Richmond numbers, 804 and neighboring 757. One place was very receptive to helping him, then we found out they were in Delray Beach, Florida. I suspected something was up when one lady, after being told we didn't have the financial means to get him to Florida, said, "Oh, don't worry. We'll pay for the plane ticket." Then everyone we talked to after that was like, "Yeah, we don't pay for airfare." Every time we talked to someone else with that company, different prices were named. After plane ticket lady, the price plus airfare was $1,800, then down to $700, then up, then down to $400. Different promises were made, nothing was the same. Red flags started going off in my head like crazy, but my boyfriend was determined to get help and stay with me. The fact that they did that to us made me want blood. Here he is trying to get help, and they are toying with him, making it seem like help is accessible, then pulling it away, then bringing it back, then repeat. The totally absurd part is after I took the phone, they would call 5-6 times a day at all hours, and told them off in late 2012 early 2013, telling them I don't know what f***ing game you're playing, but shove off. They continue to call roughly twice a month 5 years later, asking if his other attempts at seeking sobriety have failed and if they can resume the intake procedure. After all of that, I still don't have a company name for them, but blanket rehab facilities in Delray Beach, Florida. Did your boyfriend get the help he needed? Thank you for messaging. He did. He's been clean for 3 years thanks to methadone. I knew him before the addiction, so I watched it change him from caring, sweet, loving guy into a crazed dope fiend. Within maybe 2 weeks on methadone, he was back to his old self. Fake claims of another house offer with zero contingencies. We were young, first time home buyers. We found a house that we loved and was in our price range, albeit the high end of our range, but in there, nonetheless. We entered into negotiations with the seller's agent. While my husband and I were thinking the counter-offer over, we received another call from our agent saying the seller's agent received an offer from someone with no contingencies. They could pay cash and sign that day. We knew we couldn't complete with that, and our agent urged us to rush over to her office to sign their counter-offer and hope they would accept it since we made our offer first. Of course they accepted, because there was no other offer. After all this went down, we were sharing our story with family and friends, and we came to realize the seller's agency plays this card frequently. I wish my husband and I had been in a better place to fight their tactics, but we were buying in a location that didn't have many good houses in our price range. 2 years later, and we are pleased with our home, just not our mortgage debt. This happened to us, sort of. We found a place we liked, and put in an offer that was totally reasonable based on the asking price, recent sales in the area, all of that. Our agent called us back and told us that the seller's agent had basically called everyone who had ever looked at the house and said, "So someone put in an offer, are you still interested?" And turns out someone else, allegedly, was, and their counter offer was outside our budget, so we couldn't match. Our agent apologized profusely for this tactic, even going as far as calling the seller's agent unprofessional. On her advice, we politely declined and continued our search. While we were in the process of looking for something else, our agent told us that the seller's agent had reached out because the other offer fell through, but the whole thing had really soured us to doing business with the sellers, so we passed a second time. Worked out for the best, since we found our current house shortly thereafter and paid less than we would have for more space in a cheaper area tax-wise. At Home Depot and Lowe's there are cacti with plastic flowers glued onto them. A friend of mine had a little cactus he showed me. He was so proud of his green thumb. He bragged how it had been blooming for over a year. I took a close look at it and told him it was a fake flower glued on there. He was pretty disappointed. Get him a cactus with a real flower for his birthday. That would be cute.